Okay, as you guys can see, back home again, full virtual. So back here at my whiteboard at home that I constructed. So we're going to start getting into looking at the short story we read, The Death of Ivan Ilyich. But before we do that, I just want to make real clear to you exactly what I've been meaning about this word alterity, because I don't want you to be confused about about the meaning of this term. So as we said, alterity, by the word alterity we mean an otherness, right? Alterity means otherness. Now, what you have to realize about alterity is that alterity is always good. It's an otherness that is always good, all right? It's always good. And so, what we mean by alterity is the experience of something other, something beyond ourselves, that naturally will elicit from us or provoke from us the experience of passion. So what we're saying is alterity is always seen as a goodness that naturally elicits from us, elicits a response of passion. Okay? So it's an otherness that elicits from us passion. That's what we mean by alterity. If it doesn't provoke passion, then it's not an alterity. Okay? It's the rejection of alterity. So elicit also means to provoke in us. All right? Like in other words, alterity is this reality that naturally draws out of us a response of passion. Okay? Draws out passion. Now, one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is like some students were saying in one of their quizzes, they were saying something like that the world of pornography is this alterity because it's like this difference from us. But no, pornography is not an alterity because it is the rejection of alterity. All right? Because the alterity that would exist in the world of pornography would be the other, the woman as lovable, as a response of love, not a response of lust. Okay? So in the world of sexuality, the otherness, and for us case insofar as we're heterosexual men, or the sexuality, the otherness in the most cases would be this experience of the woman. Okay, the woman as lovable, as someone that would to be loved through an act of passion. So our natural response in sexuality to the otherness of the woman is a passionate response. So you mean what we mean by an act of love, okay? So the world of pornography is the opposite of that. It's a rejection of that passion So it's a rejection of her alterity as lovable. Okay, so the world of the pornographic world is not a world of alterity. It's the rejection of alterity. Okay, so the pornographic world would be this rejection. See, the rejection of alterity. So that's what that's why we say that this world of the pornographic world of lust is the world of desire. See, that's what we've been saying. It's the world of desire, because now I reject the otherness as lovable, as something worthy of my passion, my respect. I reject that, and I reduce the other to my immediate desires, okay, which is, the center of desire is the self, okay? So alterity is always a good that elicits in us the world of passion. And when we reject alterity for selfish gain, as we said, that's the world of desire. Now, what's going to be very important is this. When we start looking at this story, the death of Ivan Ilyich, he's a guy who completely forsakes passion, okay? He just gives up on it from the very beginning of his youth. Ivan is a guy that what he does is he says, Ivan decides that the world of passion is too difficult, He's not going to do it. Ivan, from the very beginning of his life, he has a fundamental rejection here. All right? And Ivan makes a very conscious decision that I'm going to live for myself, okay? Ivan makes this decision that it's all going to be about me, baby. It's all going to be about me. It's not going to be about anything but me. And the end result of Ivan making this decision in his youth that he's just going to look out for himself and take care of himself, it's going to be all about himself, okay? The end result of that is a life, ultimately, of misery, okay? There's no real happiness in his life. And the reason there's no happiness is because there's no passion, all right? And the reason there's no passion is because he's fundamentally selfish. So the end result of this world desire, the selfish world desire, is going to be misery. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Only passion can fulfill the human soul. Only passion can give us true happiness. And I'll tell you what, you can spend all the time you want trying to feed these selfish desires and see how good luck. It's not going. It ends up in a road of nothingness. Okay, it doesn't work. It never works. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read you some opening lines from the beginning of The Death of Ivan Ilyich, Chapter 2, when Tolstoy's describing, what Ivan's all about. And this is what Tolstoy tells us. This is talking about Ivan, okay? As a law student, he had become exactly what he was to remain the rest of his life. A capable, cheerful, good-natured, and sociable man, but one strict to carry out whatever he considered his duty. And he considered his duty all things that were so designated by people in authority. Neither as a boy nor as an adult had he been a toady. That means that he wasn't he didn't kiss up to people. Okay, he didn't try to flatter people. So he had like a certain decency about himself. But from his earliest youth, he had been drawn to people of high standing in society as a moth is to light. He adopted their manners and their views on life and had established friendly relations with them. All the enthusiasm of childhood and youth passed, leaving no appreciable impact on him. He had succumbed to sensuality and vanity in his last years at school, to liberalism, but strictly within the limits his instinct unerringly prescribed. Okay, so there's a whole lot there that we have to kind of unpack, okay? It's very kind of like very dense kind of, there's a lot there. I think it's great writing. I think it's like incredible the way this guy writes. But there's a whole lot there we have to unpack. So let's go back and look at the first few sentences. As a law student, he had become exactly what he was to remain the rest of his life, a capable, cheerful, good-natured, and sociable man, but one strict to carry out whatever he considered his duty. And he considered his duty all things that were designated by people in authority. Okay, so look, this is what's going on. This guy, Ivan, comes from, a well-to-do family. His father is a judge, and, they're pretty wealthy. They're well off. And Ivan, in his youth, as a young man, a law student, he's probably in his early 20s. He has this idea in his head that he has a duty, okay? He has a duty. Ivan has a duty, all right? He has an obligation, see? He sees it, and there's this obligation in his life, a duty. And what is his duty? What is his obligation? He sees his duty, his obligation in life is to do whatever the people in authority do. Like, okay, whatever they say and whatever they say is the right thing, he's going to do it, okay? Well, who are the people in authority? They're the upper class, okay, the rich. So he looks out at the world and he sees the people in authority. People in authority, okay, and he's going to, follow whatever they say. All right, the people in authority, the upper class. Okay, the wealthy, the rich, okay? Whatever they do, whatever they say is important, okay? Whatever values they have, his job is to imitate that. That's what his job is as a human being. His job as a person is to imitate whatever they do. That's his duty. It's his obligation. He must follow. All right? So basically what you're seeing here, and this is not incredibly unusual, but you basically, what you got here is this guy who there's no free thinking. See, he's not in any way kind of trying to figure stuff out on his own. He's just kind of following the herd, as they say. Okay, it's like Nietzsche of Friedrich Nietzsche, a very famous 19th century, early 20th century philosopher. Nietzsche came up with this term called the herd mentality, okay? The herd mentality. And the herd mentality means that the individual just does what everybody else is doing. There is no like real individual thinking, okay? In other words, it's kind of like, if I'm a kid at Loyola, and I'm a 11th grade kid at Loyola, and I'm trying to figure out like what I should do or how I should act, I just watch what everybody else does, okay? I just follow them, okay? If they do it, I do it, okay? So it's like this herd mentality No real individuality. No real individuality. I just, I follow the herd, like a bunch of cows. Nietzsche also came up with this phrase. He called the person in the herd, he calls them the they self. The they self. In other words, your self really isn't even a self. Your self is them, Whatever they do, I do. So your self has kind of been like sucked up into the them, the herd. So that's what Ivan does. Ivan's comes from a wealthy family. He, of course, wants to be wealthy himself, rich, have a ton of money and power and so forth. So he decides, well, whatever these people do, this is obviously the road I want to go down. So I'm going to travel down this road. Okay. I'm going to travel down the road of, the upper class. That's his road. That's the road he wants to go down. Now, what we're going to see is that as we move further into the book and talk more about the book, we're going to see, well, this road that he decides to travel down, this road of high society, well, basically what's happening is that the majority of these people in this world, they're just in the world desire. They just kind of do everything to better themselves. They don't really think about anything but themselves. It's a world desire. It's a world of desire where basically passion has been eliminated. Okay, these people of authority in the upper classes. It's basically constituted by this desire. Okay, it's all about me, what I can get. Okay, and you never really see. You don't see real acts of passion. And as what happens is, well, we'll talk about it. What happens is when he starts to die, of course, he's dealing with all these people that are kind of into themselves and just kind of, so his own death is nothing but a burden for them. Okay. So when he starts to die, these people around him, they don't really show him any love because he's just he's making their lives miserable. And that makes him realize how alone he is. See, he's he realizes his own emptiness because no one really loves him. But the reason no one really loves him is because he never really spent any time loving them anyway. He ends up alone because that's how he lived his life. See, well, we're going to get into all that.